Tanse, I'm Creeson Agecoutay. Welcome to APTN National News. Thank you for joining us. A post-secondary institution in the Northwest Territories is facing hurdles, expanding into a polytechnic university. Instructors say along with base funding, they want to see more continuing education programs geared towards professionals. But there have been problems that has created a bit of uncertainty. Our reporter Charlotte Moore-Jacobs has the story.
We'll be a team.
The task, plucking a duck as a team, but only using one hand. The outcome, teamwork, a quality these students from the Level 2 Northern Leadership Development Program have been mastering.
Can I tell a story?
Aurora College's continuing education department is a hybrid model. It attracts students from across the north who are already in leadership roles back home. But this program trains them to be even better. Liz Wright is chief of the Tetlin-Gwich'in Band in Fort McPherson.
Learning from the whole cohort, of course. Everybody has a different background and everybody has different jobs. And you're not only learning from Hill and Mo and from the notebooks, the binders that they give you and their teachings, but you're also getting different people putting in the information that they shared with their leadership.
Part of this hybrid model, students are invited to bring their mentors. Charlie Villeneuve, a supervisor at Agecoutay diamond mine, originally from Inuvik, is here with his biggest supporter, his grandma.
The strength, leadership, where I get a lot of my quality from, I could see it in her and so many others.
Hilary Leroy Gauthier says the students' employers pay their tuition and give them time off for the course.
You're leveling up, basically, your leadership skills. So using those concepts and the tools and the models that were introduced in Level 1, this is now, okay, how are you utilizing this in practice? And how are you sharing that wisdom with each other around that use?
But programs like this are at risk. Aurora College was planning to transition to a polytechnic university by May 2025, but they have to put those plans on hold, already cutting their bachelor's programs in social work and education. The issue, 60% of their funding comes from third parties and the rest from inconsistent research money. College president Dr. Glenda Vardy-Dell says the institution plans to hire full-time grant writers.
We want to be able to say to a student who is unsuccessful in a course this year, one-time offering of a course, we want to be able to say, well, you can come back next year and redo that course. If we don't have third-party funding to say that, or we don't have base funding to say that that course will be offered again next year, then we may potentially just lose that student.
Cheryl Martin of the Yellowknife Dene First Nation says she's graduating with confidence.
The reason why I took this is to work on me using my voice, speaking out, learning to be in leadership role, like maybe down the line in the future, know what I'm going into, know what I want. This program really helped about team building, trusting.
The program has seen over 150 Northern graduates earn a record of achievement since 2011. Charlotte Moore-Jacobs, APTN National News, Deta.
Being alone in the woods may sound scary to some, but one Saskatchewan resident tested her luck in season 11 of the hit TV show Alone. A Métis woman from Cumberland House faced off against the wilderness for a chance at $500,000. Video journalist Rachel May spoke with her about her experience.
I grew up on a hunting and fishing lodge here in the Delta, so I have a lot of experience growing up, living, and being a guide.
Michaela Carrier is no stranger to the outdoors. She runs an adventure business, guiding explorations of the Saskatchewan River Delta. Carrier is the first Métis woman to appear on Alone, where contestants see who can survive the longest in the wilderness. Last August, 10 contestants went north to the Arctic Circle near Inuvik, Northwest Territories, to test their ability to live off the land completely alone. Carrier said there were challenges. This was a new environment for her.
So I was really surprised when I went way up north to the Arctic Circle, and it was quite cloudy at times, and also we're so close to the ocean, and it was getting darker every night, so there was a change in the atmosphere for sure.
Throughout her journey on the show, Carrier says it was her lifelong connection to the land and the creator that fueled her during the competition. The evening before a helicopter dropped the contestants off in their survival location, they met with elders from the area for a ceremony and to learn about the environment.
And that was an amazing thing that even the elders said to me. They said, our land will take care of you. And that's what happens out there if you have the right skills and you also go out there with an open heart.
For those hoping to be a future contestant, Carrier says you'll have to learn how to use a camera.
Because that's like a big challenge of doing this, is filming and practicing everything at the same time. So that's making your fires, your shelters, bow hunting, fishing. Make sure you practice all those skills and get out there.
Carrier applied online. She encourages other Indigenous people to do the same for more representation in the series. New episodes of Alone air every Thursday on the History Channel at 9:30 Eastern Time until the season finale on August 29th, where the $500,000 winner will be crowned. Rachel May, APTN National News, Saskatoon.
This month is also Indigenous History Month, and the social media platform TikTok is ringing it in by spotlighting a slate of Indigenous content creators. 9 talented creators were selected as Indigenous TikTok visionary voices. Reporter Sierra Bettens caught up with 3 of them to discuss how they express themselves and share their culture on the app.
For 16 years, Xavier Watso was a drama teacher. After hearing about TikTok from his students a few years ago, Watso, who is Abenaki and lives in Montreal, began posting content on the app. Then, he quit his job. Now, as a teacher turned TikTok creator, the world is his classroom.
I realized that instead of being in front of a class of 30 kids, I am now fortunate enough to be in front of a class of 5 to 8 million people who listen, who watch, who react.
Watso is one of TikTok's 9 Indigenous visionary voices, selected in honor of Indigenous History Month. Another is Dalrumik, an Inuvialuit and Gwich'in artist and fashion designer. She says, for Indigenous creators who don't live in cities, TikTok is a digital podium to share their work with the world.
When I first started on TikTok, I was seeing so many amazing Indigenous cultures from across Canada, across Turtle Island, around the world. And I was like, oh, I can't wait to see my culture. And I wasn't really seeing a lot of content. So I thought, well, I can share some of my work, some of my traditional clothes, some of the things that I've made. And that's kind of how I got started.
Today, she is schooling 100,000 followers on Inuvialuit culture. That's brought her career to new heights. Thanks to TikTok, her designs were featured in Avatar: The Last Airbender.
The pieces that I created were inspired by my culture, our geometric fur designs that you see on our historical ancestral clothing. And then, of course, being inspired by the Arctic Ocean, the waves and the movement and the jaggedness of the ice.
Shawnee Kish is a Two-Spirit Mohawk singer-songwriter in Toronto. Her TikTok journey kicked off after posting a video of her singing What's Up by the 4 Non-Blondes to a neighbor. That video has amassed 8 million views. These days, Kish documents her and her wife's pregnancy journey between sharing her music with fans.
It's an open door kind of policy with our TikTok. We definitely communicate. Sometimes people will recommend a song to sing or request a song, I guess, to sing, anything like that.
As a Two-Spirit creator, she uses the app to explore and celebrate her identity, one she says is frequently misunderstood.
The different colors of being Two-Spirit. It can mean transgender. Somebody that's transgender can identify as Two-Spirit, but it also could be me, myself. I identify as she, her, and I'm also Two-Spirit.
After 3 whirlwind years on the app, Watso decided to channel his focus from global to local by shifting to French language content.
Even though I've scaled back to be more concise or more more close to home. I feel that I have a bigger impact on the people around me because I see it. You know, I see the changes that are happening all around me now that I do my content in French.
Most importantly, Dalrymik says TikTok allows Indigenous creators to tell their stories rather than be narrated by others.
Because a lot of the books and documentaries and stories that were out there about Inuvialuit and our culture have always been from an outsider's perspective. So TikTok has really allowed creators such as myself to share from our own personal, authentic, lived experience.
Sierra Bettens, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
A professor at the First Nations University of Canada in Prince Albert, Saskatchewan, saw the need to create a Cree dictionary for elementary math. And when he did, he couldn't keep up with the demand. Belinda Nelson with the First Nations University reports.
In 2017, the Cree Dictionary of Mathematical Terms was created for elementary schools by Arzu Sadarli, math and physics professor with the First Nations University's Prince Albert campus.
And we realized that many words, many mathematical terms simply did not exist in Cree.
He had help from people like Ida Swan and Elder Willie Ermine. They all saw a need. When the book launched, the feedback blew up.
We published 320 copies and we presented them to Cree schools across Canada. We understood that it's not enough, and we started working on online version.
The book itself launched in 2017. In September of 2022, it went online. That first year got 20,000 views, and it was downloaded 8,000 times. Larissa Kachamonia from the Key First Nation did the artwork. Sardali's colleague Ting Zhu heard about the book in a meeting.
Ting's idea is to make it like audiobook and downloadable audiobook, so you can, even if you don't have the internet, you can listen to that and you can repeat it.
Be on the lookout for the revised website for the Cree Dictionary of Mathematical Terms with visual and audio. This is Belinda Nelson with Indigenous News, Regina.
The city of Yellowknife treated hundreds of people to a delicious open fish fry to celebrate Indigenous culture. That story when we return. Stick around. Welcome back. The town of Morinville, Alberta, just north of Edmonton, celebrated National Indigenous Peoples Day with guests from the nearby Alexander First Nation and hundreds of school kids. The children learned the meaning of the 15 poles of a Cree teepee, the importance of ribbon skirts, humility, and more. They were then treated to powwow dancers and Métis jiggers, and a friendly dance-off between the two ended the celebrations. Jigger Michelle House told APTN that she loved the crowd's reaction.
To me, it's like healing. You know, like with Métis and the Indigenous people, like we've been through a lot. And when I just get on stage or like when I'm out there dancing, it's just a really healing, uplifting, amazing experience.
There was an abundance of pride as communities celebrated National Indigenous Peoples Day north of 60. Our reporter Charlotte Mort Jacobs is back and takes us to Treaty 8 territory for the sights and sounds of the holiday.
Shirt for him, and I realized how big he was.
It's a celebration you don't want to miss. The annual fish fry at the Sambake Civic Plaza in downtown Yellowknife, hosted by the North Slave Métis Alliance. And it's not only the delicious local whitefish that draws in large crowds. There's vendors and performers all afternoon showcasing their culture and history.
It has not been a linear point from this city's founding in 1930.
Garrett Cochran, Deputy Mayor of Yellowknife and proud member of Local 66 Yellowknife Métis, says today is a day to honor the history and resilience of Indigenous people.
I would describe this as a celebration of the Indigenous culture, a celebration of where we've come from as Indigenous people, being First Nations, Métis, and Inuit, and a celebration of what we can achieve in the future. This is the beginning point of the rest of this century. From 2024, we're on the 90th year of Yellowknife's history here. We're entering into the 100th in just a decade here. And where we'd like to go for the next stage here is not only just within reconciliation, but a united peoples.
Local leaders are also taking the opportunity to speak towards challenges Northern Indigenous communities face.
My great-great-great-grandfather, Chief Emil Dragis, on my father's side, signed the treaty in Fort Resolution on July 25th, 1900. They understood to be peace and friendship treaty that did not surrender ownership or control over our traditional territory.
We also strongly believe that no Indigenous people should be left behind by any government merely because of an outdated policy or any administrative convenience. We will need help to replace our lost jobs with the oncoming mine closures, to nuance, and lost hopes with new dreams for the future for all of our in our communities of Indigenous peoples.
Across the NWT, Dene, Métis, and Inuvialuit communities are celebrating National Indigenous Peoples Day with feasts, canoe races, traditional games, and ceremonies. Charlotte Moore-Jacobs, APTN National News, Yellowknife.
Now to today's new website poll question. We're asking, did you celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day this year? We're all simple, yes or no. Have your say over on our website at aptnnews.ca. Next up, we will meet the woman behind the Treaty 1 Development Corporation in Winnipeg, who has big plans to help Indigenous people succeed. Stick around, we'll be right back. Over on the East Coast, St. John's 22, Fredericton 25, La Grande River 23, Kuujjuaq 13, Val-d'Or 25, Sigouin 26, Sarnia 32, Peterborough 26, Wawa 21, Big Trout Lake 26, Churchill 12, Thompson 20, Winnipeg 22, Barons River 17, Swift Current 25, Yorkton 26, Buffalo Narrows 18, La Ronge 18 as well, Peace River 16, Fort Chipewyan 21, Lethbridge 25, Edmonton 21, Tofino 16, Kamloops 25, Dease Lake 15, Smithers 15 as well, Beaver Creek 23, Watson Lake 18, Yellowknife 17, Norman Wells 22, Inuvik 25, Colville Lake 17, Baker Lake 12, Chesterfield 10, Iqaluit 5, Igloolik 4. A development corporation with the goal to bring Canada's largest urban reserve to Winnipeg now has a new CEO. Kathleen Blue Sky is Cree and Anishinaabe, a mother of 3, holds a master's in business from Asper School of Business, and has 2 decades of executive leadership. She is now leading the Treaty 1 Development Corporation and has big plans in creating more success for Indigenous people here. She recently joined me in studio. Kathleen, thank you for being here. You are the new CEO for Treaty 1 Development Corporation. Tell us a little bit about your background first.
Oh, sure. I'm an Anishinaabe Cree from Nisitchwe Cree Nation and Minagosebee Anishinaabe Nation here in Manitoba. And I have spent majority of my career working for First Nations people in Manitoba in various capacities. I actually worked 14 years in intergovernmental relations with respect to health reform, and I decided to pursue my business degree. So For me, business has always been at the forefront of my mind from the time I was very young. I have entrepreneurs in my family, including my maternal grandfather and my uncles, and it always inspired me, and I always thought business was really exciting, to be able to have ideas, to create a vision for something that you believe in, and then make it become a reality, create jobs, create revenue. So it was definitely something that I learned at a very young age. And as I went into my career, I wanted to be a helper. So I worked in positions where I thought I could influence different systems. And at the end of the day, I realized, we really have to build economies to create the opportunities. We really have to build our buying power, our purchasing power, in order to have the resources to create really influential change in the systems that we navigate as First Nations people. So that's how I ended up, working for a development corporation. And I have a degree in, a master's degree in business administration through Asper School of Business. And as part of that experience, I also participated in business plan competitions around North America. So it gave me good insight into what we need to do to be strong economic players as First Nations people in markets that we've typically been excluded from.
No, that's great to hear. Right across this country, Indigenous business and entrepreneurship is growing tremendously every year. So it's good to have people like you at the helm. First off, tell us really quickly, Blue Sky, tell us what Blue Sky is for those that don't know, and what will be your vision for the organization moving forward?
Well, Blue Sky for me really means, spirit in leadership. So that's been one of my primary goals, is to bring spirit into the work that we do. So with my team and with our organization, we have really embraced culture and language as a fundamental component of setting the foundation for the work we do. So we make offerings for the projects that we want to be successful. We sit in ceremonies together in our office. We pray together, we meditate together. And I believe it really creates that creative space that allows our team, to have the ideas, the insights, and the connection to the people in the work that we do, in the planning that we do, in the development.
How do you feel, I have to ask you about this because it's all over the news right now, but how do you feel about the recently announced $250 million funding that the BDC announced for Indigenous entrepreneurs? How will that help people here in Winnipeg?
Oh, that's going to help exponentially. We have started an entrepreneurship center at Treaty 1, and we're just getting it off the ground now. As part of that entrepreneurship center, we're going to provide the same supports that we provide to our team, to our communities, to First Nations entrepreneurs. And I know, from the research that we've done, the biggest hurdle for our First Nations and Indigenous business people to get into the market is having that startup capital. Yep. Having that support and backing, and it's difficult to navigate. So I think that announcement is going to go a long way, and we're going to see a huge boom in entrepreneurship.
Well, Kathleen, thank you so much for chatting with us today, and we really appreciate it. We're all for Indigenous businesses.
Awesome, thank you.
And that's our midday newscast for this Monday, June 24th. We'll be back again in a few hours for your evening newscast with more stories. Hi, miigwech masicho. Thank you for watching.